The amount of money printing is 2.1% of the economy. And when the economy does worse, the government prints more. That's the new era.
It will take some sacrifices.
Unexpected bill, debt, 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 work.
And people are just so frustrated and they're done with it. And they're realizing that it's a slavery model, essentially.
I started my 3-year plan to get the F out of Canada by any means necessary.
Mark Carney's fiscal update is all about one thing: debt, debt, and debt. And the thing is, what most people don't realize is this is more money printing that is coming, and essentially their living standard that has been declining for the best part of a decade is just going to continue to decline. So Mark Carney is no different than Justin Trudeau, as you're reading here from the Fraser Institute. Carney's fiscal update continues Trudeau era approach to federal finances.
I want you to know that we're here for you.
And really, this is money printing. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. Anytime credit is created, that is money printing. So bravo, Mark Carney. More money printing. Elbows up, everybody.
Elbows up.
Elbows up.
I mean, it's just absolutely hilarious. You change the guy in charge, you get exactly the same type of policies. So take a listen to this. On Tuesday, the Carney government released its spring fiscal update, which revealed a whopping $65.3 billion budget deficit this year and further deficits in years to come. And we'll get into how that stacks up against Western economies as well, because it's pretty bad.
No! God, please, no! No!
And the thing is, it's very interesting because despite promising a very different approach, he's took the same approach of money printing.
Who cares?
And again, what does that mean for the average person? Living standards go down. What does that mean for capital that they're trying to attract? It doesn't want to come. I mean, take a listen to this. Venture capital investment in Canadian growth stage firms fell to near zero in latest quarter. And they're talking about Q1 2026. So this isn't like far in the past that we're looking, unlike some data points in Canada. This is the first quarter of 2026. So, you know, Mark Carney, fantastic job that he is doing. I mean, who believes that? Honestly, it is just absolutely hilarious.
Our economy is very strong.
And he is just hollowing out the economy even more. It's becoming more dependent on government, which is exactly what they want. They want your life to revolve around government. And we'll get into Bill C-22 and a bunch of other things that are deeply concerning that are going on in Canada. You've got people that are just fed up. They are seriously fed up of people like Trudeau and Carney. And I mean, listen to this, because this is Trudeau speaking himself. And he said those in power must be smart and responsible. This video is brought to you by Incogni. We spend a lot of time analyzing market cycles and protecting our assets. But right now, your privacy is under threat from proposed legislation like Bill C-22.
Oh, no.
Which forces providers to retain your metadata. Data brokers absolutely love this. They scrape your financial background and your SIN and then sell them to the highest bidder. Sold! Fight back with Incogni. They automatically hunt down data brokers and legally force them to delete your information. What really sets them apart is their custom data removal feature, letting you add up to 3 emails, 3 addresses, and 3 phone numbers to scrub your digital footprint completely. You can even protect your whole household with their family plan. Take your privacy back. Go to incogni.com/marketmania to get 60% off your annual plan. Use code MarketMania. There's a link in the pinned comment and the description below. Thanks to Incogni for sponsoring this video. And I mean, listen to this, because this is Trudeau speaking himself. And he said those in power must be smart and responsible. So I don't know who he's talking about, because he's certainly not talking about himself. Take a listen to this.
I have trouble with authority unless authority is smart and responsible, and actually demonstrates that it's worthy of that authority.
So he thinks he's worthy of that authority. He thinks he is smart and responsible.
Look at his face. It's beautiful.
I mean, it's absolutely hilarious. And this guy has just got away with all his crimes, making massive money off all these speaking engagements. And, you know, he was the worst politician, probably in Canadian history. But Mark Carney might even be worse than that in years to come. And, you know, more and more people are just sick of it. They're just absolutely sick of the debt slavery, the falling living standards, and entrepreneurs like this girl. Videos are going viral because they're leaving. They've got their exit plan. So take a listen to this because the theming of this is very similar to what we always hear. Take a listen.
I started my 3-year plan to get the F out of Canada by any means necessary. Now, before you all come at me, okay, I am very aware of all the privileges I have, the fact that I can even have a plan to leave this country, but I will say I am a third generation immigrant. My Italian grandparents moved from Italy to Canada. I feel like now my generation is going to have to think about where they're going next because Canada just ain't it. I'm sorry to tell you this. Yes, we pay a lot in taxes. I run a business and I just feel like, I don't know, I'm being punished for being here. The weather sucks most of the year, okay? I'm out today because it's sunny, but the weather sucks most of the time. Our lifestyle sucks here.
The lifestyle, just a quick reality check, is just debt slavery. For most people, that's what it's going to be. Their whole entire life. I mean, we'll get on to like what the Canadian reality is now for most people, what the Canadian dream really is, because it's falling apart. And these people are smart enough to wake up. They're smart enough to see that nobody is going to be able to turn this ship around, and they're getting the hell out. And I don't blame them. In fact, I encourage them. I think they're doing the right thing because you cannot change this shit. The Constitution in Canada needs amending. It's a total shit show. Provinces need to be allowed to veto federal laws. Things need to change. Anyway, let's continue.
Cost of living is extremely expensive. My generation can't even afford a house right now. So the fact that...
And we'll get on to that because it is crazy. Even with massive declines in the housing market, houses are still vastly unaffordable. And not only that, what you actually get for your money is disgusting in a country like Canada. It really is when you consider the amount of land there. And then this guy, I mean, he's crashing out about the whole situation, but it's the same sort of theme as the other video when you really drill down to it. It's the cost of living, it's the debt. And the fact that you have so much debt means you're a slave to that debt and you're going to be working every day till you die like a slave. Most people doing jobs that they don't want to do. And that's if they can even get a job. So, I mean, the good old days of just being able to afford a modest life where you can buy a home, where you can raise a family, where you can spend a little bit of money. If you want something, you don't have to think about financing it. I mean, most people before like the early 2000s, they used to buy their cars outright. There was no such thing as auto or car financing. Why has that boomed? And it's the same with everything, right? Debt, because nobody can afford it, but then you're slave to the banking system. So take a listen to this, kind of crazy. We won't watch the whole thing. It's a little depressing, to be honest.
So let me get this straight. Work, $80 in gas, work, groceries, keep myself alive, work, unexpected bill, debt, work.
And people are just so frustrated and they're done with it. And they're realizing that it's a slavery model, essentially. Like, they're trapped in a system that is essentially a form of slavery. I mean, it's like you've got the freedom to leave. You can leave. And people like this are waking up and they're realizing, hey, I need to have a plan to get out of here, because they want to get out of the plantation, essentially. I mean, it's different to 100, 200 years ago in terms of the slavery. You actually have the freedom to leave your master. But the problem is, if you stay in countries like Canada, the US, the UK, you're stuck on this hamster wheel your whole life, and literally you're slaves to the banking system, and it's just a it's horrible life, and people are fed up and they're sick of it. And then of course there's this lady, she went viral, she's just had enough, she's Jamaican living in Canada, and people shouldn't say this lady should just go back to her own country. That lady, she comes from Jamaica, just go back to your own country. That's like the low IQ way to take this video. Really, people should be thinking, wow, like, why does she feel like that? And everybody knows the cost of living. I mean, Mark Carney doing a great job,
So sick of this shit. I have no quality of life. I somehow allow people to convince me that, you know, a good life and a successful life is owning a home, owning a car.
That's what they tell you.
Having this career and, you know, taking a student loan to advance that career. Only to find out that when you do all of these things, you become a slave. You acquire all these material things that the bank owns, and all you do is live with the debt of trying to pay for it. And when you realize you have no quality of life, this is May. It is so freaking cold outside, and you know, you can't get to enjoy your life. So even the things that you're buying to say, yeah, I've accomplished these things, you're not getting a chance to enjoy because you live in people's workplace. You're like a slave to this thing.
People are done. They're fed up. They've had enough of the debt slavery model, and people are seriously pissed off. But, you know, they got to direct their hate. Look at Trudeau. He's probably making more money now after being prime minister than he did when he was actually prime minister. And that just shows how society really is. And these politicians, they don't care about you. They only care about their party winning. And that is not a good way to run society, because ultimately nobody gives a shit about the country anymore. And you know, the funny thing is, when it comes to politicians, is you almost have to think of them as business leaders. The people who are the leaders of political parties, they're the best PR spokespeople for that party. So if you are like, oh, I really like the sound of that guy, congratulations, because that's the idea. They want you to like the sound of that guy. They put the best guy forward. Meanwhile, everybody else behind him are people that you don't want to have working in your government, because again, they're not there for you, they're there for their party, and it's all about power and not about you and the middle class. Politics isn't serving the people anymore, it's just serving the interests of power, and that's what's really changed, and people are realizing, they're waking up. But it's such a slow process, especially in a place like Canada. Canada is so far behind, and I wanted to show you this because this house just kind of sums up what the Canadian dream essentially is, which is just a lifestyle of debt. So this is obviously a fairly new subdivision, and you know, it's in Milton, so you know, it's one of the suburbs in the Greater Toronto area, which is a huge economic engine of Canada. So you're not even in Toronto, you're not in the major cities, you're out in the suburbs. $1 million for a house, and this is a loss. Somebody bought this for even more. But again, it just shows how crazy things have gotten, because nobody can afford $1 million. And even if you can, like, what you're going to be up against is inflation and interest rates rising, because we're not going back to the 10-15 years of stable inflation that you've seen. And I say stable, it wasn't low, but it was stable, one could say. That's not going to be the case anymore. Things have changed drastically. So people are going to be constantly looking at high interest rates, these waves of inflation, and they're not going to be able to handle it. And the debt bubble, the debt Ponzi scheme that these governments have created, it's not going to work. It's already failing. It's been failing since this whole it started, and the deglobalization really started to accelerate from there. But it's just not going to continue, guys. It's falling apart, as you're seeing. BBC, Canada's spring budget, projects economy to grow and the deficit to fall. I mean, it's kind of crazy when you have even the BBC that's coming out and they're saying, oh, the deficit's coming down for Canada. Bravo, bravo, Mark Carney. You're doing an excellent job.
Around this dinner table. It's like a 7-course meal.
But then hidden deep down in this article, it says here, the spring budget projects Canada will remain in a deficit over the next 5 years, hovering around 50 billion by 2031. And you've just got to remember, guys, we are talking about money printing here. And when the economy does worse, the government prints more. That's the new era of what they do now. It's changed substantially since 2019. They now just print more every time the economy does worse. And, you know, this just gives you kind of some idea. I mean, it's actually from February, but it shows how Canada stacks up against the rest of the world. So total debt, household, corporate, and government as a percentage of GDP is 377%. So 3 times the size of the entire economy. Just think about that. That is absolutely nuts. That is just absolutely wild. Canada is the 4th highest in the world for that. I mean, take a look at all these countries on this list, and Canada is 4th, as you can see, only behind Luxembourg, which has a massively skewed economy, really small country. You can't really use that as a base for comparison. But Japan, are they having a great time? France, are they having a great time? They've got massive debt problems, especially with the government as well. So, you know, Canada is in trouble essentially, but it's just that people don't know. And then household debt, that is even higher. So people think about the government money printing. Well, the money printing that's going on to fund household spending is even more extreme when it comes to the rankings by the countries. Canada is 2nd in the world for the highest household debt. Only Switzerland is higher. And again, due to the banking system, there's kind of a lot of nuance. So really, Canada is actually number 1 when it comes to this. And this is what allows these prices to continue going up, is the debt. People are just able to take on more and more debt. But obviously, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out that eventually there's going to be a problem with that, of course, because what's going to happen when people can't pay those debts anymore? What will happen? The banks who lent out all that money will be in trouble. People will be completely screwed. And we're already seeing the beginning of that.
Is this a higher stress point than housing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the highest stress point.
And it's not getting any better. Canada also high in the rankings for non-financial corporate debt at 163% of GDP. So actually higher than household debt. It's just in the rankings is lower down. And then government debt as well is also topping the charts as well at 111% of GDP. So, you know, the debt outstanding is more than the entire size of the economy. I mean, that's how crazy it's getting. And look at who's number 1. It's Japan. And how's Japan's economy doing? I mean, come on, guys. We all know Japan is in serious trouble, and Canada isn't far behind that as well. And even RBC basically admitting that this budget is a joke here. Obviously, they can't come out and say that because of the massive links, banking system and the government. Obviously, they fund a lot of the borrowing. It's kind of crazy because when you get down into this as well, you take a look at these charts, you can see how the fiscal track is essentially unchanged. And obviously, this comes after Trudeau has left office as well. And you can see the deficit for 25-26, the fiscal year just ended, is projected to come in at 67 billion, 2.1% of GDP. So that essentially means the amount of borrowing is over 2% of the economy. Just the borrowing. We're not talking about the spending. We're just talking about the borrowing. So essentially, the amount of money printing is 2.1% of the economy. That has massive effect. And Mark Carney's going to be like, who cares? Who cares?
Who cares?
Elbows out.
Elbows up.
But the reality is, like, for the average person, that matters a lot. Because, you know, if the government is introducing more printed money into food, for example, just chasing food, then basically what happens to food prices? They go up. And where does that money go at the end of the day? It just goes to like Loblaws and the big Canadian oligarch companies that benefit from it. I mean, it's kind of absolutely insane. People just don't connect the dots on this. Even food banks for pets are just seeing exploding use. So it's not even just people. I mean, this is how crazy it is, and sad, because obviously animals as well. You got to feel sorry for them. They don't make any of these decisions that their owners make, these poor financial decisions related to debt. But for a lot of people, debt has become a necessity, unfortunately. Canadian government is coming in and they're trying to introduce all these ways to get your personal data, to get backdoor access to these platforms. Even Apple, NordVPN is saying they're going to pull out. Signal's saying they're going to pull out if this legislation goes through. So take a listen to this. Liberals claim that under C-22, only internet companies are subject to ministerial orders, but the current language applies that any company that does business in Canada and basically sends emails is caught in the definition. And again, I mean, this is to protect you. That's what they say they're doing, but really it's actually just to spy on you more. Take a listen to this.
I have a major concern specifically with the language of who can be bound by these orders. And specifically, it's the electronic service providers that can be compelled by a minister to come up, design a system, backdoor, etc. And so I look at the definition of service provider. It's Part 2, Section 2, the definitions. It's basically anyone that provides electronic services to persons in Canada and does business in Canada. So then I go and I look to see the definition of electronic service, and it means anyone that involves in creation, recording, storage, processing, transmission, reception, or emission of electronic communication. Well, sounds to me like any law firm would be
So basically, it's everybody. And I mean, again, this is just showing the level of dystopian rules that are coming in Canada. You've already had Bill C-11, where the CRTC is meddling with social media companies now. And now they're trying to get into the privacy aspect of it as well. I mean, it couldn't get more dystopian. This is a massive deal as well. And then Mark Carney, I mean, he still believes that net zero is possible. He's basically doing his best to obviously discourage investment into Canada at a time when he should be encouraging oil and gas and those industries to create more oil and gas to bring down the price instead of printing more money and just handing it to people, which then sends up the price. Marty up north puts here, this is all mental gymnastics to try and appeal to idiots who have been brainwashed, and he is totally on the money there. As you can imagine, that's just what Mark Carney does every single day, because even he is smarter than this. Take a listen to a little bit of this.
News. I'm wondering if you could tell us what, in terms of figures, are the actual emissions reductions you expect out of today's deal, and then what is your message to environmental groups who have a long list of releases right now calling this deal today a betrayal, a bulldozing of environmental protections, gutting a major climate tool, harming our future, and abandoning international commitments, and putting net zero by 2050 firmly out of reach?
Well, first, let me start at the end and let me go through it. What we have today is an agreement between the Government of Canada and the Government of Alberta committing to net zero 2050. Both of us committing to net zero 2050. Not committing in a speech, not committing rhetorically, committing with a series of investments and commitments and market frameworks that are going to move the province, going to move the country towards low emission and to net zero. Net zero, the environment respects or is a function of emissions. It's physics. It's what actually happens. And in order to change what actually happens, you have to go out in that room. You have to get some of those apprentices when they get their Red Seal trades. You have to go to...
You want to know something funny about this interview here is Mark Carney, he's not going, like he normally is. It's almost like he knows this speech off by heart, because he does. He's been talking about it at the World Economic Forum. He's been promoting it for years, the net zero agenda. So it's something he knows absolutely well. Whereas most of his responses to questions, it's clear he doesn't have a clue what he's talking about, and they're just word salad responses. So, I mean, again, committing to net zero by 2050 is just a joke when your overall emissions are just a fraction of what the world emissions are, and you've got China that is just going to compensate by creating even more emissions, and that's what's happening, and other countries, and it's just completely insane, but these people are just totally delusional, is all these people that are stuck in debt slavery right now are potentially looking at hikes in rates coming in September, coming in December. So, you know, all these people are incredibly frustrated as it is with what is going on. Interest rates are already rising and going up. And it's like I said, this debt slavery nightmare that people are stuck in, it can't continue anymore. I mean, it is literally at an end, and it's going to be a horrible next couple of years as people realize and chase a lifestyle that just no longer exists anymore. It's just no longer even possible, and it's happening whether people like it or not. And like this girl has realized, the only real way that you can actually make a decision that affects yourself and allows yourself to get away from this is by leaving. It's just the fact of the matter. You're not going to change things by voting for another status quo party. It's just not going to work. People will be bitterly disappointed. They really will. And I wish them all the best of luck. But I know they won't change anything, even if they don't. And I think deep down, they actually do know that they won't change anything. And that's even if they get in, because the political system is so f***ed up and broken. And if they don't, Alberta is just going to be on their bike leaving anyways. So, you know, the country is just insanely broken. Fundamentally, I think it goes back to the Constitution, actually. And that's what people should be looking at. Nobody is talking about amending the Constitution. No politician. So we're far from that, from what I can see. And that's really what it would take to potentially put Canada on the right track again and let provinces go in their separate ways, because otherwise it's just going to fall apart. The Confederation is doomed to fail because the provinces are just so split. But anyway, it's just the reality of what's going on. So what do you think of Mark Carney's Canada? More money printing coming down the pipe. Do you think that's going to be a good thing for your wallet? If you've enjoyed this video, please check out this video here. If you want to help support the channel, check out the links in the description below.